move on to the next deal. It's all about the sweet spot commercial. These are $500, $900, $1.5, $2 million properties. Save the big stuff for the people that go in there and buy conventional. Focus on the financial security. I say it over and over again because I want it to sink in. I want you to get it. It's about the tens of thousands of monthly cash flow. It's the sweet spot. Not major rehabs. Most people, they look at opportunity and they say, ooh, this is a deal. Look at that big piece of junk. Well, not all these properties are ugly. A lot of these properties are pretty. The one that I was just talking to you about when we just got the contract in a couple days ago for our review, we're going to get that thing executed and wrapped up. Now, that particular property, it's a good-looking, solid brick property. And there was a little some of the tenants vandalized, so the doctor actually dolled it up, and it looks great. And the interior shots and everything else, it's a great property. It's a pretty property. So don't just focus on what your eye sees, right? Focus on the great terms, the big discounts, filling these vacancies. Don't just focus on what an ugly property looks like. I'm not into major rehabs. This, by the way, is a building with a lien on it. Just to give you a... Get it? Lien on it? Right. Stuff like this, and if you run into stuff like this, that's why they have bulldozers. But that's a whole different topic. But we want to get into the right properties, the ones that we can actually get people in there and get them cash flowing. All right. So that's important. Guys, it only takes one deal. It takes one deal to set you up. I want you to get that. So here, fewer, bigger deals. All right. It takes one deal to get the cash flow. Then there's the appreciation. I was talking a moment ago about why people sell. Why do people sell? Why do they do things that they do? They do these things because they're motivated. Appreciation is a very, very important key to the dynamics of how we unwrap these deals and know that there's actually something there. The reasons that people hold property, as I said before, is cash flow appreciation. And then there's depreciation, because Uncle Sam lets us write a little bit off. And then there's something called cash out. Some of you understand cash out, and for those of you who don't, this is going to excite you. Cash out means that we get a property up to market occupancy. Now, market occupancy across the nation is usually 85% or so. It's usually not 100%, but you can get a property at 100% occupancy. What we do is we go ahead and get that stabilized at market occupancy for 180 days. That's the lender's criteria. 180 days, covering debt service that's cash flowing. After that 180 days, we can do something that's called seasoning. We can do something called a cash out refinance. You can actually refinance that property and take out all that equity on paper. You can strip that equity if you choose, and you can take that equity out, and that's called a cash out refinance. And the key to that is you actually don't pay taxes on that money that you took out until you sell the property. And even if you go to sell the property, you can still roll it into another property, which is called a 1031 tax-deferred exchange. A lot of you have heard of it. But the depreciation factor is also there to hold property because Uncle Sam lets us go ahead and write some of it off, which is due to wear and tear. Well, how much wear and tear do you think actually happens to a property? You can write off more wear and tear, but you want to make sure that you have your professionals do that. But what happens, the dynamics behind the financial security each and every month on the cash flow, and then the appreciation, people hold property because they're used to the cash flow. Then what they do is they retire, and they get used to the cash flow, that positive cash flow. Then what happens is it starts to appreciate, and they still hold on, and then they hold on to it for so long they face health issues. And by no means do we ever take advantage of anybody at any time. That's not what this is about. Okay? We give them the value of the property. When we buy, we always want a deep discount, but again, we're buying on the as-is value. A lot of these people that hold property for a long period of time, it becomes mismanaged, but they still get used to the cash flow. And over time, the property gets neglected, so there's light rehab. Okay? The rents haven't been raised in forever, but I want you guys to make a footnote. We do not get into property just to raise the rent. We get into property because we want to go ahead and be able to realize huge upside. Huge upside is not raising rent. You're agreeing with me, Sami, I know. Because a lot of people focus on that. They say, well, look, you can get in there and we can raise the rents and make a bunch of money. So that's a reason to buy this property. It's not. That's just icing on the cake. But I don't want you to lose focus. It's still a factor. It's still a factor in why we should get into the property, but it's not the only reason. And it's about financial security, and this to me is financial security. As much of this green stuff as you can possibly stack up. It took me about 6.5 hours to stack that. Okay. So home run versus base hit. I talked about big deal-itis. I talked about these huge properties. Well, with a home run, it only takes one, as they say. And I get that. And I know some of you are really excited about the larger deals. I'm not telling you not to go after the large deals. You can still go after the large deals. Just don't lose focus on the base hit. Now, I want to define the difference between a home run and a base hit, so then that way you choose which path you want to go down. Bigger deals require more capital. The capital's got to come from somewhere. It's either going to come from a lending institution, which is good old bank financing. It's going to come from OPM, which is other people's money. It's going to come from other investors. You can drum it from your real estate investment association groups. You can get it from hard money as well. And, of course, a portion of seller financing. But bigger deals always require more capital. So as you can see, they're a little bit more complicated in that regard. And then you could also get hung up with other players. Like I said, the daisy chain of brokers that hang on your coattail. It happens because people are attracted to larger deals because of the larger money. But the big plays are exciting, aren't they? If you think about it, the bigger plays, they're really exciting. But here's the base hit. They're most common. That's reality in my world. This is the low-hanging fruit. These are the deals that are out there. Less emotions, way less emotions involved. The reason being is because there's less dollar amount involved. Still a heck of a lot dollar amount, a heck of a lot higher than residential, but a heck of a lot less than some property, in Dubai or some huge glass building. Usually one player involved, which is key. So when there's only one player involved, that means that the negotiations are not with the broker, they're with the seller. We always get the seller on the phone. Getting the seller on the phone at one point in time is an absolute must. On some of these calls, we'll probably get the seller on the phone. Maybe, maybe not. But if I get the broker on the phone, the next step is to go ahead and review the concept of the acquisition criteria, which we're also going to cover here in the next couple of days. Talk to the broker and let them know what we're looking for, how we're looking to move forward and get it done. If they get it, and they're wanting to move forward because they're motivated and they understand that we can get the deal done, then what happens is they get the seller on the phone. And with the base hits, there's usually only one seller or possibly two sellers. On the self-storage deal, there's two. On the other deal, the apartment deal, there's just one. And the only reason why the doctor wanted to get on the phone with me is because she just wanted to say hello. She wanted to make sure that I was a real person and that I knew what I was talking about, and I told it to her straight. And I basically said to her, look, unfortunately your property really isn't cash flowing, and chances of you selling it are probably slim and none. But I can go ahead and assist to come in, to get the rents up, to go ahead and fill the vacancies, to go ahead and get this thing operating. And if you can work under the terms that I spelled out with the broker, we can get this deal done. And I'm willing to go ahead and solve your problem, willing to go ahead and give you a little capital up front, and I'm also willing to give you a piece of the deal. And then she asks the standard questions like, well, how do I know that the income isn't going to go in your pocket versus going to the actual debt that's on the existing loan? I said, we can use a third-party accounting firm. You can even pick the accounting firm. It doesn't matter to me. And the monies that comes into the accounting firm, they will be appointed to go ahead and pay all of the debt service prior to any additional funds coming into my entity. And she felt very, very happy about that, very at ease. Does that make sense? Do you guys understand that? Yeah, of course, it is what it is. And she understood that I knew what I was talking about. She said, what kind of marketing plan are you going to put together? And I said, well, I'm not going to put together a marketing plan. I said, actually, it's going to be the professionals that we bring in, and we let the professionals do what they do best, and we focus on what we do best. And she goes, oh, okay, I understand that. Well, of course she understands that. What does she think, that I'm going to go and put on my marketing hat and go deliver flyers, roll them up, put a rubber band around them, and stick them in people's doors? No, absolutely not. No. And of course there's enough room in the property for the right marketing company. And now we're going to talk a little bit later about why would the seller go ahead? Why didn't they do it? Why aren't they capable of doing it? Why hasn't the broker done it? We're going to talk about all those reasons. We're going to beat the deal up together, and we're going to look at it and really soak it up and understand why these people sell property. But they do. All right? It's just the way they do it.